This is not my normal Monday car video. This is basically, kind of breaking news because today Volkswagen announced that their motorsport division is being terminated. It's finished, Volkswagen Motorsport. So what does this mean, and what did that division do, and what's going to be in the future? So, citing pulling strengths, going to be combining strengths is the reason. The news from the Volkswagen board, which is based in Wolfsburg at the giant headquarters right next to the factory, is that the tiny but equally historical Volkswagen Motorsport AG, located in Hannover, Germany, will be closed. And we know some information. I'm going to take some guesses at some information. And there's just some things that we don't know. I do want to say, for disclosure, I do have an existing relationship with Volkswagen. I have also done some work with Volkswagen Motorsport, but this is entirely my own opinion. And I really don't have any insider information, but I can try and infer a little bit. Most importantly, though, in human terms, the official press release which came down from members of the board who work in that great big tall tower, is that all 169 employees will be offered contracts to integrate into the rest of the company. And I have literally written an article for this, so got a whole bunch of notes. Especially right now, nobody wants job losses, and I've met some amazing people there, in the marketing, in mechanics, the engineering side, and I've really not met anyone there that wasn't super professional and wonderful. And so, I hope that their expertise does carry on within the group. So I think that's the most important fundamental thing that will be lost or changed, and hopefully everyone is safe and secure there. But for the rest of us, what have we lost? Well, kind of Volkswagen already exited World Rally Championship before. Several years ago, I was at Hannover just after they canceled it, and the Polo WRC cars were sitting there looking kind of sad. And at that time, they just announced they were never going to be raced under the factory banner, and it really felt weird. World Rallycross Championship kept some of those cars on under the Polo R Supercar, which did really well. Johan Kristoffersen, he won 11 out of 12 races in 2018, which was phenomenal and kind of dominating. But respectfully, that series, for as fun and as exciting as it wasn't a headline act. It wasn't Formula One, it wasn't Le Mans, etc. And that was the last real big kind of global factory push that they did. On a side note, Audi Sport announced today, basically within the last 24 hours, that they are going to be leaving Formula E, which was huge news, but they're going to be going back to, Le Mans prototypes, which is really great for that sport. And they are separate from Volkswagen Motorsport, so it's quite unaffected. But at Volkswagen Motorsport at that time, it did leave TCR as the new and now global product. That's what they were working on with the engineers there, and it was that already like, hey, what's the future going to bring? But TCR went on to win a lot. Benny Leuchter is a factory driver, and he has a lot of wins in the TCR car. Rob Huff, especially in Macau, dominated. And then FCP Euro here in the United States took first and second place in their championship and won the Constructors' Championship for Volkswagen. But they were campaigning as local teams. They were not under the global heading of Volkswagen Motorsport. They were supported by Volkswagen Motorsport, but even here in the US, there was a third-party company that handled the spare packages, etc. So they didn't just call Hanover, hey, I need this part. They would call the person that has a contract. And so again, not that global manufacturer-supported racing. And I think that's where it gets kind of interesting. Super smooth. This really is breaking news. So Volkswagen AG wasn't actually racing very much. The glorious IDR was the exception, and it wasn't doing wheel-to-wheel racing. Okay, if you're following the IDR, you know that it was doing hill climbing, which is a sensational sport. You should go out, find your local hill climbing association and support them, but it's not wheel-to-wheel, and it doesn't have, again, that global mass appeal, although it should. It did show how much fun electric could be and just how exciting it was. If you don't believe me, you'll just have to trust me. What are my credentials on it? I was on top of the Pikes Peak when that car finished and set the new record. I was on the start-finish line at the Nürburgring Nordschleife when it set the new E-record there. I've been on stage for 4 days with that car, with my car presented next to it, my Jetta S concept. And that car, the engineering, and just what a manufacturer, a global car manufacturer can do, really showed us just how captivating it could be. But again, it didn't have that global headliner. So what can race in series? There's dozens, if not hundreds, of teams around the world. If you look at Volkswagen Motorsport social media over the last year, they have been running takeovers each week, and very hard work for the team to organize that. So big props to them. Showcasing and giving light to the teams all over from India, China, South Africa, North America, and from all over Europe, from the south in Spain to all the way north in Finland. And yes, even myself, I did a takeover. I'd say one of the first 5 to do it. Shared their cars and their stories and showed just how much they are doing with Volkswagens, whether they are doing it with their local Volkswagens. Here in America, we have Volkswagen Group of America. There's Volkswagen Canada. Holland has PON, or they have their own one. And Belgium has their own Volkswagen distributor. And often that's where some of the backing and some of the relationship comes from. So they are not going away. They'll continue to do so. And that's what really does show what a global car brand Volkswagen is. One very, very exciting race car coming out is the Volkswagen Golf GTC, the Mark 8 from South Africa. And that will continue on. And honestly, I'm guessing here, I know in large part it was built by Volkswagen Motorsport South Africa. They have their own different regulations there. They have their own development series, and they are quite separate, literally, legally, from Volkswagen Motorsport Hannover, Volkswagen Motorsport AG, which is the one that is ended as of today. I don't think that the GTC probably ever touched Hannover. I'm guessing that it was probably built with experience and knowledge and shared information in South Africa. The race series in India, which is super crazy exciting. China, elsewhere will continue to operate. So it doesn't mean the end of Volkswagen Motorsport. It means the end of Volkswagen Motorsport AG. Volkswagen, of course, will continue to build road cars and race cars all over the world. Here in the USA specifically, Volkswagen Beetle GRCs are a good example. They competed in multiple GRC championships, winning pretty much all of them between Scott Speed and Tanner Faust. That chassis was actually built by Seat. Yes, Seat in Spain, who now has the Cupra brand for their Go Faster ones. And again, that shows that motorsport can exist globally without having to rely on Motorsport AG. But this is where AG came in my opinion. Being in the paddocks, being around those mechanics and around those Beetle GRCs cars, which were phenomenal, incredible technology. There was all the spares packages, and they were carbon fiber, and every one of them had a Volkswagen part number, but it was really a Volkswagen Motorsport part number. And that was overtaken with the support and expertise and central logistics of Hannover. And in fact, specifically the engines in those cars were otherworldly. They were really World Rally Championship style engines. Incredible technology. And they had specific engineers from Hannover that would fly in for the races with their laptops, and they would keep the engines covered. And it was the German guys from Motorsport AG that worked on them and that had the expertise. And I'm going to guess those cars probably couldn't run reliably and again without that monitoring and work and expertise of AG, and with the financial and expertise backing of that. And that is one thing that will be expected to be going away with this announcement. So we'll see what happens once the dust settles after the news. But that and a whole lot of history may end with a full stop today, a period, a put a pin in it, it's done, however you say it in your local dialect. And with that, yeah, there was a ton of history, an absolute ton of history. When Volkswagen didn't compete Formula One Le Mans, they did have an amazing and illustrious career spanning it. 3 overall wins at Dakar, multiple WRC drivers and constructors championships. And that's just going back the last 20 years, going back even further, really back to the mid-60s and throughout the 70s. The Formula One cars, Formula V, Super V, and then Formula 3, which had the Volkswagen engines, which also went to Volkswagen Japan. This was kind of the big one. And you don't see it talked about a lot, and you don't see a lot. You see some little mentions, but this history, I mean, let's talk about the drivers. Michael Schumacher. We could just end there. Michael Schumacher spent time in a Volkswagen engine Formula car. Mr. Le Mans, Tom Christensen, he won Le Mans 9 freaking times. Niki Lauda, Michael Andretti, Didier Fays, Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, Keke Rosberg. These are world championships. These are Formula One drivers. These are Le Mans. These are the absolute pinnacle. So while Volkswagen didn't compete directly in there, I don't want to say they were a feeder system for it, but a lot of drivers, many drivers and a ton of champions got a major foothold and spent a lot of time in Volkswagen cars or series or engined cars. And that's just one part of the legacy. Another part is for people like me, probably you. So I've been very lucky to be around it, but this is the championship winning cap for the GRC series. And this, okay, I was there with the team and it was a very nice gift, but I also go on eBay and I find old jackets. This one from the late 90s, I think maybe the Polo one of the series, and then going back before that with the Mark III Golf with the Sony era of sponsorships. I track those down, and that's what does not end today. Does not end. You know, we've got stickers on your toolboxes. You've got Volkswagen Motorsport pins. My mom and my dad bought me one of those years ago. The shift knobs, the Volkswagen Motorsport Ital Volante steering wheels. It's impossible to put an end or a price to that legacy. So while today here in 2020, there's a declared end to the end of the story for the Volkswagen factory, Volkswagen Motorsport AG. It's coming down from Wolfsburg. It is ending today, December 1st, 2020. But racing in Volkswagens will continue all over the world for fun, privateers, for Volkswagen-backed cars in regions. I'm sure, going to go out very guess, this is not scripted at all. Racing will continue in VLN or TCR, etc., all over the world. I personally hope that Volkswagen Germany will someday pick up the Volkswagen history book, open it to the chapter of motorsport, and continue to add more paragraphs, more wins, more palmares to it. Whether it's internal combustion, whether it's electric, whether it's a carbon fiber prototype that goes and does silly things, or whether it's an F1 car, WRC, wherever we go in the future. I don't personally care, as long as it's interesting, exciting, and competitive. That's what makes sport. That's what makes motorsport interesting to me. And for a manufacturer, it comes down to, marketing and development. I think those are the two fundamental things that encourages manufacturers to do this. It's advertising, race on Sunday, sell on Monday, or development for technology or to showcase it for marketing, whatever it is. For now, though, I'll end this by saying simply thanks, Volkswagen Motorsport AG, for the cars that came directly out of Hannover, for the cars that you inspired, that you assisted with other markets, that will continue on. Thank you to everyone personally there. I thank you. I know the board of directors issued a statement saying that, but from a fan, from an enthusiast, I appreciate what you have offered us. I hope we'll see you all again in the future.